Well, thanks everybody for joining our Profoundly group chat today. Got a really special guest joining us, who I'll introduce in just a second. But just to kick it off, for anyone new, the Profoundly group chats are a chance for the Profoundly community to connect with leaders and professionals and business builders across the ecosystem, both the HubSpot ecosystem, the app partner ecosystem, and connect and kind of learn and grow better than ever together. So today we're going to be digging into how HubSpot helpers of all kinds, whether it's a contractor or a consultant or an agency partner or beyond, can think about and leverage the connected app ecosystem. This is nearly 2,000 or so. Greg, I'm sure you're going to give us an update. Third-party software providers who help customers grow better than ever, kind of extend the power and might of the HubSpot platform in really exciting ways. I'm really excited about this conversation. I know a lot of folks in the community are as well. We've got a fantastic guest with us, Greg Karelitz, Senior Director of Product and Partnerships at HubSpot for 12 years, Greg. I'm really excited to dig into kind of how pros can help uh, leverage the ecosystem, app and integration ecosystem to help customers grow better and kind of how that whole program has evolved. So thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm excited to participate. I see we have a few folks live with us too, so I feel like if please don't be shy, whether it's in the chat or unmuted. I feel like I'm excited to dive in and try to answer some questions and spark some thoughts and ideas. This will be fun.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Cool. Well, Greg, you were at some big news recently, right? As we've talked about. You were at HubSpot for 12 years, and it was
Was
quite a run, right? For folks that aren't as familiar, do you mind sharing just kind of a quick overview of your journey?
Sure. So believe it or not, it was my first company out of school. I started off as a BDR, so as entry-level sales as you could get. In college, I studied computer science, um, but I wanted to figure out how to drive revenue and engage with people. I like talking, maybe too much sometimes. So as a BDR for 18 months, I learned more than anything, honestly, probably in that role. I was account executive for another 18 months. And then I got the opportunity to start and build HubSpot for startups. So at the time, I think we might have some folks that might be unmuted here too. I don't know if there's some background noise coming from any angles. Awesome. And so at the time, and it's less of a secret today, but Brian and Dharmesh love startups. I think it's core to them, core to their blood. They started HubSpot. Dharmesh, I don't know how many hundreds of companies he's angel invested in, but they wanted to build a program dedicated for startups. One of the bits of feedback they got at the time was that HubSpot for early stage companies was too expensive, but it
Mm,
was the perfect tool set. So it was like the perfect customer profile that wanted to use HubSpot as a marketing platform then, but they couldn't afford it. And they were actually, when they could afford it, they were the best customers. They were using every facet of the tool. And so they had Kim Walsh take over HubSpot for startups. She and I work super closely together in the past. She asked me to join her, so I did. And I love startups. It was an itch that I got to scratch for myself. So over the next 4 years, we built partnerships with VCs, accelerators, incubators really across the globe. I think by the time I stopped with that program, there were maybe 3,000 partners, and we had helped well over 10,000 startups adopt and use HubSpot.
wow.
Um, and we taught over 100,000 startups how to do sales, marketing, and services. And so what was really fun about that was we kind of hit the narrative, and I'll tell the rest of the story in a little bit, but we hit the narrative that startups are phenomenal at building products, but they really lacked the knowledge and skills on how to create distribution and go to market.
Mm,
We said, great, let us come in and teach you. So with like Techstars and Y Combinator and Mass Challenge and these, amazing programs built around startups, we partnered with those companies and basically created the curriculum around sales, marketing, and services for these companies.
yeah.
And it worked. So I did that for 4 years. Then I got to scratch another itch of mine. The executive said, hey, do you want to build this WordPress thing? And on nights and weekends, my video game is building websites. And I use WordPress for everything. And so I just said yes without knowing exactly what they wanted. I said, yeah, I'd love to figure it out. And
Yeah.
so we architected a product, a plugin into WordPress. And in a year and a half, we scaled that to over 300,000 businesses using HubSpot with WordPress, making it the de facto CRM for WordPress businesses.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if any folks in the room or who will be watching use WordPress, but that plugin was a passion project and something really fun. So we got to build partnerships around that and drive distribution. And then that transitioned into running the ecosystem. Oh, nice, Jeanette. WP Engine. Yeah, we built a great partnership with WP Engine back in the day. They're an awesome hosting company and much more now. Um, and that transitioned into running the ecosystem. So at the time, there were about 200 integrations that either HubSpot had built or companies had built.
Yeah.
And we said, let's figure out how do we turn HubSpot into a platform. We had already, with your expertise, really started to nail the solutions partner side to the ecosystem, but we were deficient, if you will, in the integration side of the ecosystem. And so we got to roll up our sleeves and figure out how to build a product partnership world. And in 4 years, we scaled that to over 1,800 integrations. And then I don't remember the exact stat, but the average customer with HubSpot was using over 8+ integrations, and there were millions of installs of these partner-built integrations. So it was very fun. So that was my journey over 12 years. And as of 3 weeks ago, I hung up my HubSpot jersey. And so now I'm enjoying some time with my wife and kids and trying to dive into the world of AI and everything that's happening now to make sure that I can, stay current with all the amazing stuff that's happening as we speak. So that was my journey a bit.
That's awesome. And congratulations again, and well deserved. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah. So, well, one of the things I just want to, we've got a lot of experts on the call here and in the community. I'm going to throw, for anybody that doesn't know or hasn't seen it in a while, as Greg alluded to, lots of changes in the program over that time, from 400 to over 1,800, 2,000 or so app partners, right?
Yep.
Now, a question for you. I'm skipping around a little bit, but like, we've got hundreds of folks in our community today, experts who are out there helping customers grow better. I have a question about how they should stay up to date on, the app partner ecosystem, given how fast it evolves. Like, as soon as you feel like you've got your arms around it, like it grows and changes.
Yeah.
Like, how do people do that?
Yeah, so depending upon like who you're servicing, right? And I don't know, and feel free to, comment in for those friends that are live with us. Like if you're servicing vertical specific, companies, if you're servicing anybody that wants to work with you or that you want to work with, it might be interesting to also know the makeup. I think what is very relevant depending upon the type of business, the size of business, and even like the industry that they're in, there are best in breed softwares out there that solve for those types of audiences. And I'll give you a couple examples. One in like field services. I actually think field services is going to be a massive opportunity for HubSpot to tackle. Think of like the even like the home providers that are coming in and either fixing your roofs or your gutters or adding oil into the tanks, which hurt the wallet every month. They have in some cases thousands of customers, and how do they optimize those routes? How do they know which customers have recently filled their tanks or had their roof repaired or needed, lawn care? And how do they optimize their plan, right?
Yeah.
So their field service now is becoming just the software in that space is being very additive and helpful for these companies because now they can actually build structure and plan and scale. And so
Yeah.
there's a couple companies in that space. One is called Zuper that has built a tremendous integration with HubSpot that allows you to connect your field service management with your CRM and marketing. And the reality is a lot of service providers like HubSpot solutions partners and even customers have no clue about the software that can propel their business to scale. Um, so if you're in verticals, I would start to do a bunch of research around which companies and software provide vertical solutions for the audiences you're trying to solve. And then there's
Yeah.
also like the de facto horizontals. So one that comes to mind is a call recording software called Fathom. Fathom has been, I think, back-to-back years, the fastest growing integration in HubSpot's ecosystem, or if not the number one, definitely in the top 3 to 5. And they just provide an amazing service that basically call records, spits out amazing transcribed notes, summarizes it for you, sets action items, and can automatically send to the recipients on the calls. And they
Yeah.
now log all those notes and tasks in your HubSpot automatically for you, saving you tons of time, tons of incorrect notes, tons of back and forth, and keeps you and your teams totally on track and allows you to coach the audience much, much better.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're not, and that costs like $20 a month per user, and they have a free plan too. Like if you're not using these tools, you're behind.
Yeah.
And the whole aim, and then I'll stop talking just for a little bit, but like the whole aim here is the average mid-market company, call it 200 to 500 employees. I believe now their tech stacks are 250 different softwares. And so not only can you provide service in marketing and sales and services, but I believe, I think the frontier now is how do you actually make the tech stack now with AI
Yeah.
create amazing scale and visibility for these companies that they otherwise would never have known how to implement themselves, execute, and you can add amazing services into that. And I think that that is the opportunity. So yeah, staying on top of the latest integrations is key, but I'd also say like there are some best in breeds that are just de factos, either horizontally or for specific verticals that I'd encourage everybody to research depending upon who they're trying to serve.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And just tactically, like you've seen so much in your time, are there best practices for how experts and solutions partners, solutions providers, customers stay up to speed on like the apps? Like do people sit down? Is there a summary? I don't even know. Like is there a summary that comes out on a weekly basis that says here are the new things that we're launching, or how does that work?
Yeah, we tried monthly or quarterly to give updates for the new apps that were listed in the marketplace and or like the substantial updates that were made.
Yeah.
Uh, there's definitely a list serve somewhere. I'm not sure top of mind honestly where that is, but
Yeah.
I think it's every quarter there were like 90 new integrations being added to the marketplace and then many dozens of significant updates.
Yeah.
Um, I can try to find that and send that to the group afterwards as well.
Got it. Got it. Very cool. It's hard. I mean, with a ecosystem that's growing as fast as HubSpot, let alone the products, like it's hard to keep up, something everybody wrestles with.
Yeah.
No. Cool. Now, many of the folks on the call and in the community are experts again at helping customers grow better, including integrations. What advice would you give them about like learning about those new apps and integrations, helping customers sort of learn about them, staying sharp on like implementing them and so on? Any advice that you would give to pros who are looking to help customers grow better?
Yeah, I think the first is identifying and understanding customers' tech stacks as they exist today.
Hmm.
I would, if you're not digging in and asking those questions to uncover tech stack today, I would very quickly bake that into your conversations and discovery calls.
Yeah.
And then when you start to uncover that, whether they're using Calendly or another CRM or SEO tools or social management, whatever it is, I would go deep in trying to understand the values and if they're happy even using those.
Yeah.
Because I think, and in talking even to like some of the best salespeople in HubSpot on the last few months, the best ones are the ones who are uncovering that intel. And
Yeah.
then they're asking, do you like this tool? Like, I can't begin to tell you how many companies love Calendly, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a great software. And if
Yeah.
customers are happy with that and you try to replace it, they're going to be like, why are you trying to replace something that I love?
Yeah.
Instead, Calendly's built a world-class integration. Let's make the two work perfectly together and add the value there.
Yeah.
Um, so that would be one. And then two, I do think a lot of these software companies also now have partner programs themselves and or even like affiliate programs. And I think some of the bounties are pretty substantial. So if you can even help create some great orchestration with HubSpot and these other tools, it adds value to the customer. You can find other revenue streams. And then, you now have another bit of ammo in the repertoire here to say, oh, I'm listening to see what customers have problems with, and you have another solution to be able to provide and connect back to the greater stack for business operations.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'd say get curious on the tech stack, and HubSpot is phenomenal and can usually solve a lot of things itself, but many times the customer may need some edge cases or already has tools. And I think to play with those is an advantage rather than try to, you know, not incorporate that into your offering.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's good. I think as a best practice, pros, I've seen a lot of pros who have sort of their go-to app, and integrations, their sort of preferred tech stack. And part of those programs, they're able to sort of service and talk, sort of bring them to market, introduce those apps, and then service them and so on. So having that sort of portfolio of app partners, preferred app partners makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and I guess just one other thing that comes top of mind, like even air call, right? They HubSpot continues to build, great calling functionality and recording functionality. And we'll see how that continues to evolve in many facets. But like air call has built a great tool for mid-market and upmarket customers and a lot of service related matters as well. It's definitely a contact center. They also want solutions partners and experts in their ecosystem. And in many cases, they give those companies lots of business too.
Yep.
So I feel like being a multi-citizen not only brings and elevates your expertise with HubSpot, but it might also bring new business opportunities that might not have otherwise presented themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. And it triggers a question for me, I guess, like, given there are so many app partners in the ecosystem, like, what are there things that stand out to you as like, here's what helps some app partners gain traction where others might not? Like, are there best practices from that standpoint?
Yeah, it's not easy. Um, I think when we have like these new small partners come in,
Yeah.
um, excuse me, distribution is not easy.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that my 2 cents and what I would say to those companies, and I think this also works in other business types too, not just software companies, but I think there's two things that companies have to do excellent in order to get the early traction of adoption for anything. I think that's one, telling great customer stories.
Hmm.
I think most businesses do a really terrible job of this.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the shoppers want to know that they've solved that business is solved for people just like them. And
Yeah.
the best ways to do that is to storytell through your channels and or have those customers advocate on your behalf. So that's one.
Yeah.
If you look at Daniel and his team at Arrows,
Yeah.
arrows.to, they literally built a company built on top of HubSpot. HubSpot was their only channel of customer acquisition. You couldn't use Arrows without also using HubSpot. I see Oaks giving a shout out there.
A lot of fans. Yeah.
And if you go look at everything they do, everything is oriented around the customer, and it's awesome. And I remember talking to Daniel about this a couple of years ago, and I said, Daniel, I think you're doing everything right. I think time is the horizon you have to be patient with. And
Yeah.
so I would go and look at all of your businesses and how all these other companies that you're working with, are they talking about the customer, yes or no? And if no, you better get on that.
Yeah.
I think that my second assumption on distribution, and this is also what I say to these companies, is get vocal. Have your opinions, plant your stakes in the ground, and start joining I call it I mean, the channel of organic social.
Yeah.
Organic social now, I think, is the new SEO. Like people want to engage with people, people want to build these relationships and hear from people that are experts. For
Yeah.
all those who are listening now, you clearly have become an expert in HubSpot and systems and, you know, dot, dot, dot. Like tell your story, tell your tips and tricks, share your experiences, share what you're doing to help these customers and tell their stories. Like
Yep.
that is in at all levels of business, small or big. I think the companies that do that best are the ones that actually get like the traction.
Yeah.
And that's hard, but so many companies don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. What are you most excited about right now? Like you mentioned AI, like obviously, new chapter. What are you thinking about? Yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I'm having a lot of fun for the last couple of weeks being with my wife and kids. My yard has not looked better in the last couple of years. I'll say that. I'm getting my hands dirty, literally. But I think this is where I'm trying to follow my energy and explore what's happening now in the business world. My passions, I love building things. I like breaking things and fixing them.
Mm.
Probably much like the folks on the call today.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's a massive shift in even how service companies do need to add value. I took a call because I was just curious. There was an AI agency that was, doing decent marketing, and I said, yeah, like I'm just going to book a time, and so I'm literally booking demos with companies that I'm not, I'm probably not their ICP, but I'm like, I want to see what you're doing. I think that's the best
Yeah.
way to learn right now. So I finally have time again to like have people pitch me and tell their stories and what their service is. And like, I think a lot of these companies are getting it right. I think AI is an unlock for efficiency. And if
Yeah.
you can actually weave that into your services, you can create scale that I don't think a service company could have ever had before.
Yep.
Um, and that's really intriguing to me. So whether it's the AI and agents themselves, or even trying to understand how the tree service company or a marketing agency, like there's probably a lot of inefficiency that you should very quickly be trying to figure out how to clean up.
Yep.
And I love that game, so I'm trying to figure out where that leads me.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've got a lot of experts in the community who are thinking big about how SMBs of all different types should be leveraging AI. It's shocking. I don't know. It's shocking to me how many businesses out there and individuals are not using AI yet. Wild. Wild.
It's it's actually wild. Like ChatGPT should be your best friend. If you don't
Yeah.
have a call recorder with your client meetings, what are you doing? Like have it take perfect notes, have it tell you and your customer the action items, have it sync with all of your tools. All of it should be done. And then if you don't have a project management tool, like where are you keeping your tabs? Where are your teams communicating and collaborating? Like holy cow, you could probably double, triple, 10x a company just off of great systems and operations.
Yes.
Like that to me is what's happening in front of our eyes. And now's the unlock. Like, let's unlock it.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. Like it is easily 10x productivity, across the ecosystem. So very excited.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I know I've got a ton of other questions, but I also know a lot of folks have joined and have questions for you. So if you're from the community and you want to ask a question, turn your camera on, come off mute, and feel free to ask Greg directly.
And don't be shy. I'll have my opinions. I think we have is it Phil?
Uh,
Phil?
Hi.
Fly. Cool
Mhm.
name.
Thanks,
Thank
Fly.
you. So kind of a partnerships question. I am admittedly very familiar with that realm. Um, Hubby is head of partnerships for Synthesia.io.
Yeah.
So very much steeped in that realm. But one of the things I've always wondered, and he never gives me a good answer on this because I'm the wife, when you're looking at tech stacks or working with someone or any kind of a partnership, when is that break point where you go, I'm done? Because I
Mm,
feel like that's such a hard, and I know it's an individual case by case basis, but like, is there any like giant red flag when you're looking at partnering up that you get to a certain point and you're like, we need to be done? Because I feel like that's hard for a lot of people. We always want to make it work. We always want to, produce
yeah.
something awesome, do something cool, but like, what is that? Okay, enough. Because I'm curious about that.
Yeah. And do you have an example in your head that you've run through at all?
I've had previous clients that I've partnered with that it went on way too long, and I'm like, we should have, like, hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah.
Um, but going forward, like, I know that especially partnerships is even a little bit of a different animal than when you're working with a client.
Yeah.
But it's like, what is that thing that you look at and you're like, okay, this is done. And it's not necessarily like breach of contract or anything, like maybe it's a gut feeling. I don't know, but
Mm.
I'm curious what you've seen in your wealth of experience that you were like, no.
Yeah. Well, let me first just say I love that you said uh, in the beginning, like your client is a partnership. Your client is a partnership, first off. But then there are these partnerships that are, I don't think everybody fully also understands partnerships, if I'm being honest. I feel like the companies that get it right create amazing scale by getting it right.
Mm.
Mhm.
Like that, I had one of the easier jobs because HubSpot's amazing. So for me to go partner with other companies, they wanted to partner with us. It was the best thing ever. But there are a couple red flags. First, you can't make a partnership work if you're not really solving for the same customer.
Okay.
And so I remember, and I had somebody have a meeting with me. They booked a time with me to say, Greg, like we're exploring partnerships. And their goal was to get to a no as fast as they could,
Oh,
which I thought was really interesting. And I actually appreciated it in a way because they're saying we solve for this type of customer. It turned out to be a 5,000 plus employee size business. He's like, does HubSpot solve for that today? Like, is that interesting to you? I'm like, not really. I'm like,
Mm.
let's go run Crossbeam. If you're familiar with Crossbeam and its
yeah.
account mapping tool, right? You can start to see, and this is the unlock in partnerships, bar none.
Yeah.
There's never been a time where you could actually run your customer base against another company's customer base and analyze it to see the health of what a partnership could be. The only caution I'll say to that is retro looking. HubSpot, everything that we were also trying to do that was cutting edge was forward looking. So if we were partnering with, and this is a great partner, so just I'm using this as an example, kind of fictitiously, so bear with me. But like if we took a Typeform,
Okay.
Typeform has many tens of thousands of customers. They get probably, I don't know how many a month they get to. By the numbers on sheer customer overlap count, that would look like the shining star, right? Because so many people probably use Typeform and HubSpot and can do them together. Love it. But if HubSpot's trying to go up market and go to the 200 to 2,000 employee range, is that a partner that can help us get into that audience and solve for that? And vice versa, are we a partner that can bring them into a whole new TAM? Usually people are trying to partner with us for the sheer volume of customers. But on a smaller scale, like, do you have what I need? And do I have what you need? And are they aligned? If that is a no, there's probably no partnership there. The second thing is partnerships. Everybody should be, this is my methodology too. It might be a little unconventional. Um, Everybody should be fighting to add more value. How do I add more value to you than you add to me? A red flag for me in partnership is when people say, I want, I want, I want, I want, I want, gimme, gimme, gimme. That's not a partnership. I
No, and
know.
because I've heard that many times.
Yeah.
I've
And
I've
look,
heard Happy say that a lot.
and that's my job is to help you. And your job is to help me. And I want to help you more than you help me. And
Yeah.
if I can do that, and I learned that from Brian Halligan, when the first time when I took over the WordPress motion, I emailed Brian and I said, Brian, what do you want me to do? What's success look like for you? And he said, Greg, just add more value than you extract. That was my first principle. And
That's cool.
it still is. So like, is that person trying to add value to you, or are they just looking for ways to participate in your world? Um, and I think there aren't always like dozens of amazing potential partnerships, but you don't need dozens of amazing partnerships. If you have one or two, there's a scaled opportunity in there that like just becomes remarkable. And then back on the front side of what we said in today, go tell that story.
Yeah.
Have them tell that story. Have you tell that story. Have those customers that it's solved for tell those stories. And guess what? The gravity comes back. Everybody wants that same success.
Yeah.
So I think the rule number one is like find one or two partners that are going to be remarkable and make them remarkable and just talk about them. And then I think what starts to happen is, and I'm getting a little, wordy here, but like, um, we worked our butts off to get one or two groundbreaking partnerships. And like I'll use Aircall as that example. Aircall was the perfect partner, is the perfect partner. We have now over 100 calling partners in HubSpot's ecosystem. Because in order for those other companies to compete, they have to try to play at Aircall's level. And it
Yeah.
worked. And you can replicate a lot of that. I hope that answers
No,
kind
that
of
did.
went off
That
tangents.
was really good because there was like, do this, but then also it sounds like, as much as you want it to be, if you're not a good match, that's a deal breaker. And then if you are not both bringing value to that partnership, it can't be lopsided. So that was perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll add one more piece just because this is top of my mind. I got lunch yesterday with an old teammate, David Torres, we started as BDRs together and we actually ended at HubSpot at the same exact time. He's a rock star. He helped pioneer Latin America for HubSpot. And he met with one of his mentors, and the mentor said, does the company solve for the customer? They were just talking about other companies. And David was like, I'm not sure they do. He's like, then who are they solving for?
Mm.
Oh, that's
If
so
you're
good.
not, it's like so obvious though. If you're not solving for the customer, who are you solving? You're probably solving for yourself.
Yeah.
And that doesn't last.
Yeah.
So it's like at the end of the day, just like find the people and the companies and the partners that also solve for the customer and are like religious about that and like just kick ass on that together and tell those stories. Like that's kind of the blueprint I would try to run over and over and over again.
I
Yeah,
love that.
that's awesome. Thank you. That was
Mhm.
perfect.
Thanks, Fly.
Thanks.
Greg, on that, building on that. So I was going to ask, like, hey, what can a pro or an expert do to add value to an app partner? You mentioned like I kind of break it down, selling and servicing and so on. You mentioned going out and telling those stories. Like, what's the most effective way for a pro to tell that story? Is it LinkedIn? Is it how would you execute on that?
Yeah. So I think LinkedIn's a great way to do it. If you don't on your website have a customers tab, you should totally have a customers tab
Mhm.
and build out stories and spend some calories on that. And then I think this also comes back to your conversations with the partner. So if you're trying to go partner, we'll use Aircall as an example again. If you're trying to expand your service offering because you found some of the ideal fits are using Aircall, if you call Aircall, ask them what their goals are.
Yeah.
Do they need more help in acquisition or do they need more help in retention? Maybe it's
Yep.
both. What's their ICP? What does success look like for them? And go on those missions to solve for those customers with them. And
Yep.
then when you do, I love my favorite thing about my job was getting emails from partners in our ecosystem saying, Greg, look at all the value we just added to these customers. Do you know what I did? I turned around and I sent it to everybody internally.
Yeah.
And that's what Daniel at Arrows really did. He said, Greg, I'm going to make it my job to tell you all the amazing successes that our customers have together.
Yeah. Yeah.
About adding value because my job was to create more customer value. He just
Yeah.
helped me do that. Just,
Right.
I think it comes back to those simple principles.
Yeah. What's a super tactical question here, but important? The telling of the story. We've leaned into mechanism like a case study, right? Where we start with like the high level accomplishment or the pain. what the customer was wrestling with, what the pro did to sort of address that pain, and then kind of what the quantified results were. We refer to that as a case study, and we publish that on LinkedIn. We pros publish it on their own websites. We publish it on the Profoundly website. Are there other mechanisms that you've seen be successful? Any feedback on that one? Any thoughts?
Yeah, and I learned this from Kim. You got to tell people the same thing 15 times over again, and you got
Yeah,
to tell them it slightly differently every time,
yeah,
right? And some people are video natives, some people are text natives, some people are shorts natives. Like and this is also where I think AI can stream up your workflow. Opus Clips, or I think
yep,
that's what it's called. Like I think it's fine today. It's 6 months from now, it's going to be even better. You upload a YouTube video and it literally turns it into clips.
totally.
Like
Yep,
find your workflow in this. One of my good friends, his company just got acquired by Datadog. And this was many, many years ago, and I can't take any credit at all on this, but what I'm most proud of them for was telling amazing customer stories. The website is metaplane.dev. Former HubSpot guy, went to college with one of the co-founders as well. And they have a customers tab on their website. And as a really early stage startup, they got a couple anchor customers, and all they did was tell those stories. And then they got another customer and they told that story. They got another customer and told it literally over and over and over again. And you just got to make that part of the habit.
yeah,
And I think that's then get those customers to tell the story on your behalf. That's probably the ultimate win. But I would say, hit it in all channels and don't stop.
yep. Awesome. I don't want to monopolize the conversation. If there are any other questions from the community, feel free to unmute and come on camera. Great opportunity to ask Greg directly. Was that Metaplane? How do you Metaplane.dev?
Metaplane.dev.
Okay,
Uh,
got
yeah,
it.
they just got acquired by Datadog, or which
Oh,
and
awesome.
yeah, they called themselves the Datadog of data. Actually, that was like their tagline as a startup. Um, Datadog was software observability. These guys did data observability. So it's actually like a perfect marriage, and they kind of shot their shot.
That's awesome.
I feel like we're all friends. Who's got interesting thoughts, challenges, concerns, or just has like any random question that I can try to be helpful for? Zach, we don't care about the printer making noise in the back. Let's just get up here.
All right, if it's too noisy, let me know.
All
I don't
good.
hear anything.
You
Yeah.
can't hear it?
No.
All right, cool. That was my test. No, of course I decided to print off some like lengthy application that I have to fill out for something right when I want to answer or ask a question. So, um, I have a question about we were talking about partnerships earlier, and like I understand, like right, you could partner with another app developer or another agency or something, but I've been kind of dabbling with this. Well, how do I partner with like private equity or like venture capital firms? So I primarily work with like B2B manufacturing companies, and I have run into some VCs and private equity stuff along the way, and I'm like, man, if I can just show this firm that I've done this really awesome job with one of their, right? It's like, why wouldn't they want to do, more? So, and I've heard from some other partners, that's a great way to, kind of land and expand. So I didn't know if you had any advice on that or any personal experiences. I see you're shaking your head. Yes. And yeah, so
I love this one. Can we workshop it a little bit? Is that cool?
go for it.
Um, what does the VC or private equity group, what do they care about?
Money, return.
Yeah. Um, what makes them successful in that regard?
Repeated investments that provide a reliable return over time. Yeah, and
And
then like basically going in and leveraging their experiences of things that have worked to help, kind of turn a company around or grow them and just, follow the playbook, right?
Yeah, and they want to make sure that they have, you said the word repeatability, right? Private equity, they're looking for companies to buy to then repeat their process to create value, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those companies that they're investing in, what challenges do they have? I'm sure there's, we don't have to answer that, but you can uncover a bunch of them.
I'll tell you one of the real big ones is transparency into what the hell are these, companies that we've invested these millions of dollars into, how are they actually performing? Like, let's break down the analytics.
Yep.
And every week, every month, when that team is reporting back to that firm, they're cobbling together reports and they're trying their best to tell them, like, this is how we're performing. But it's like, do you want to take their word for it, or do you want to actually just see what's going on?
Yeah. And so like enter HubSpot and enter other softwares to make that life a hell of a lot easier, right? And then enter you, who's the expert to help those companies really clean up and operationalize their stuff. So now my 2 cents, and you probably already know this, but like the two angles are, one, have those companies go directly back to, if you add tremendous value, your ask could be, can you go talk to that private equity group and share with them what we've done?
Yep. Yeah. I have one. I'm just waiting for the opportunity. There's been this client for years and kind of, they've boomeranged and they've come back again. New CEO came in and they finally want to talk about HubSpot a little more seriously. And this is that one, I think, the one that's kind of teed up right now, where it's like, if I can get back in there and really show them, what they need to see and provide that value, then that's going to be my real first attempt at getting into one of those VCs.
I would surface that ask now. Like, hey, if I can really help you, are you comfortable going to the VC or private equity group and, sharing the successes that we've done together?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, I'm your partner. Can we?
I'm waiting to show some more successes. Let's just say that. It's like you can lead a horse to water, right? We've all been there before. But yeah, no, I appreciate where you're coming from. It's like, well, why wait? Just ask for the injury. You have nothing to lose. What do they say? No, not yet. And come back in 3 months and ask again. Sure.
Yep. And I think the other angle is, and what we did really, what I'm proud of us with the HubSpot for Startups angle was, and this was at the time where like there weren't a lot of startup programs, but we would go into these VCs and accelerator groups and literally just give first. I had no ask. My ask was, let me teach all of your startups how to do sales, marketing, and services better. And if I do a good job, I'm happy to come back. I have no ask. Almost to the.
I like how you positioned that.
Almost to a fault. We would go do a presentation to 100 companies in a cohort of one of these VCs or accelerators. And literally we didn't have a call to action at the end, intentionally. People would come up to us at the end and say, okay, wow, we learned this is a great methodology. I understand it all. Now what do I do? How does HubSpot help? And then I'd say, well, you could apply to get 90% off HubSpot, use this. And, now you can join a community of many other companies just in your, but I would wait for them to ask because it means that we did all I cared was to add value first. And it worked. I'm not saying do that, but I'm like, add a ridiculous amount of value.
Practice what you preach, right? We always talk about, always be helpful and helpful content and aiding people through the buyer's journey. Well, it's like, well, the rest of the life works that way too. And I try to take a page out of that book and just say, well, yeah, go out there and try to be helpful. Brian, we've had a bunch of conversations before about just like, yeah, I would love to see Profoundly grow and just watch you guys kick ass. How can I help?
Yeah.
That's it.
Right? You do good things, the universe, comes back around.
I just read the book Rework. I don't know if anybody's read that yet. It's very quick. It was like, I read it. I'm a slow reader. I read it in a couple nights. It was basically telling me everything that I believed that nobody practices. It's like, do exactly what you just said. Literally just like do great things and the universe will pay you back. Right.
Kind of like what your parents taught you when you were a little kid, right? Like do unto others.
But we forget about that. We get away from all the stuff and people start saying me. Go you, right? Like, I think it's scary because you do have to make a paycheck and you do have to, provide and you do have to grow this thing. But like, also if you give that methodology a little bit of time, I believe that's going to come around in treasure troves back to you because people are going to say, man, Zach's the guy.
It's the first thing that I look for. Like if I want to bring someone onto the team, it's you don't have to be the smartest, developer or HubSpot guru. It's like, do you care? Do you want to be helpful? Do you feel bad if something doesn't work out the way you said? Because you can't teach those things, right? So yeah, just are you someone who can just add value?
Yeah.
Right? If you're not adding value, like you said, what are we doing? And I've literally said that to folks on the team. Okay, just make sure you're adding value. The second you feel like you're not adding value, then they're going to figure it out pretty quick too that you're not. And so, we don't want to be in that position. Be proactive, add value, put yourselves in their shoes. So,
Easy to say, hard to do.
very,
Or
yeah.
easy to
Harder
say,
to manage,
yeah.
right? When you
Or
let go of
easy to
that
say,
control.
easy to say, easy to do. Just do it, right? So yeah, no,
Cool chat though. I like this. I like where the conversation went. I appreciate your insights.
cool.
Yeah,
Well,
this is great.
I hope it's helpful. What else? What other questions, comments, thoughts? And I'm sure Brian, you got some perspectives too, unless if we're up on time.
Yeah, it looks like we're just about at time, Greg, but obviously lots of fans in the community. Like, what's the best way for folks to sort of keep up with what you're up to? Is it LinkedIn? Like, where can they follow you?
LinkedIn's great.
Yeah.
I'm more responsive there, and I'm going to start maybe practicing what I'm preaching here of if organic social is the new organic SEO, I should probably start talking a little bit more to the world out there. It's hard to overcome that, but we'll do it. So yeah, LinkedIn's great.
Awesome. Nice. Well, Greg, thank you so much for joining, for sharing your insights. I took so many notes. Give first, I think, is big bold letters at the top of the document. So thanks for everything. And yeah, look forward to keeping in touch here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for putting together a community, Brian. I'm glad to be a part of it. So thanks all for joining and those that watch.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.